Hello and welcome back to the Sense Making in a Changing World podcast. I'm Morag. If you're a regular listener, you know that in this show I usually share conversations with wonderful people from around the world doing amazing transformative work. But throughout January, I'm doing something different. 4 short solo episodes, just you and me. Across this series, we're opening conversations about permaculture from 4 different directions: why permaculture matters and how positive change happens, how we design for healthy human habitats, how education becomes cultural repair, and how livelihoods can stay aligned with care. In episode 1, we explored why permaculture matters right now, and episode 2, we explored design for healthy human habitats. Today, we follow the thread into education and how learning done well becomes cultural repair. I'm recording this episode from Yinabara and Gubbi Gubbi country and would like to pay my respects to elders, past and present, and to all First Nations people listening. Permaculture education. Well, I see it as a door to opening reconnection with our place. Not just about going outside and gardening and seeing nature as a backdrop, or even learning about ecosystems like it's a subject on the side. I'm talking about a kind of education that's deeply in service of life, the well-being of people and place, the regeneration of cultures of care and ecological integrity, and building resilience through diversity. Getting deeper into permaculture is a kind of learning that changes how you belong in a place, how you listen, how you notice, how you make decisions, how you take your place in the web of relationships that already holds you. A lot of modern education trains us to stand outside of life and to look at it and analyse it, to treat nature as scenery or resources or the environment somewhere else apart from humans. Permaculture education, at least how I see it anyway, does something different. It invites our attention back into relationship, not just relationship with other people, but relationship with soil, with water, with climate, with birds, insects, rocks, the edges and the seasons, with the limits of a place and the gifts of a place. Education becomes a way of remembering that I'm not separate from this. I'm part of this, that my choices have impact and what I do matters. In fact, humanity matters. Permaculture education invites us into exploring ways we practice love for the land, become regenerative actors. I really love what Robin Wall Kimmerer says. What would it be like if we understood that the land loves us back? She tells the story of when she said this in a seminar and the energy of the room shifted. People laughed and then said, oh, well, if we knew that the land loves us back, we wouldn't inflict these things on the land. And a door opened to a completely different way of being in the world. This feeling of the love you have for the land is reciprocated. Humanity, we're not a cancer on the planet, but beloved, we're earthlings. Everything on this planet is. When we speak, we are the earth speaking. When we act, we're the planet acting. Our conscious awareness shapes this. Education shapes our awareness. Time immersed in nature and natural cycles shape us, which is why permaculture education is so essential and why I'm always being heard saying the world is calling for more permaculture practitioners and educators. So anyway, here's a question to sit with as you listen. I wonder, where did you learn to belong in the more than human world, and where do you feel this? It could be a tree you sit under every day and notice the seasons changing, or a grassy knoll you lie on to look at the clouds or the night sky, a garden you tend and have become part of its rhythm, a river you walk with and know its curves, or a lake you swim in and feel its currents, a forest you've storied alongside your children. I'm not asking about where you learned information about this place or how many plant names you can remember, but where did you learn or discover belonging? How did you become to notice in this way? For most of us, these moments were not in classrooms. They were in those creeks, backyards, neighbourhoods, moments of being shown, not told, being invited to notice, being trusted with something real. This, my friends, is one of the central ideas, I think, in permaculture education. We don't start with teaching and offering answers. We start with curiosity and attention, with learning to read and feel the place we're in. Because once you can read and know a place, or at least begin to know it and know that that's important, you can start to design with it. And once you can design with it, you can contribute instead of depleting. In permaculture, learning often begins with 3 practices. First, observation, noticing what's actually happening without rushing in to fix it. What's repeating, what's changing, what's working, what's not. As an educator, we try to create possibilities where people can explore this and be curious and notice. The second is relationship. So asking how things are connected and starting to see the invisible patterns of connection, the web of relationship. With the change of just one thing, the whole pattern of relationships can shift. We look for the smallest possible intervention and also trust nature knows how to garden, improve soil, grow a forest. For example, a key strategy is planting water to slow it, spread it, sink it and store it. Knowing how and where to do this can change the whole place and rapidly activate regeneration. The third foundation after observation and relationship is feedback. So after trying that one thing, taking action, it's never the final action. We're always needing to watch what happens, to learn from the response, to adjust and keep acting. One of the principles of permaculture is creatively respond to change. Another principle of permaculture too is to use slow and small solutions. And let's be honest, there is no one big silver bullet solution that's going to solve the multiple crises that we're facing. It's going to be a multiplicity of lots of small solutions by all of us everywhere engaged in this process of observation and careful action and noticing the feedback. A simple way to express this idea of feedback. So let's take mulch, for example. So if you use hay mulch, it gets integrated very, very quickly into the soil by the soil life. So just by adding it once, you can't say, I've mulched, and then walk away and it's done forever. Of course not. You need to keep iterating. You need to keep coming back to it. So you come back and you maybe top dress it, or maybe you do some chopping and dropping or adding some living mulch. Maybe you allow the leaf fall to decompose in situ. So this is the same with design or with anything that you're doing in the world of permaculture. It's not like, okay, done it, dusted, that's it. It is a constant process of being aware, noticing the feedback, doing some kind of small iterative change and keeping on going. So we learn through listening, noticing, watching, designing, doing, listening again, noticing again. It just keeps going around. It's this action learning cycle. That's what life is. This is a process of life. This is how life learns. This is how life has always learned since the very, very beginning of time, of sensing something and then adapting and sensing and adapting. So permaculture design is actually how life works. And once you start sharing permaculture in this way, the questions change. Instead of what's wrong here, the question becomes, what's needed here? Instead of what should I do, the question becomes, what's this place already doing and how can I work with it? And instead of what do I lack or what do I need to buy, the question could become, what's here already and what connections can I help to create? Or is there another way of doing this? Or even, is this really even needed? Those questions don't just produce better designs, they produce a different kind of human behavior or set of human relationships. They're more attentive, less controlling, more accountable, more capable and resilient. And if you can share learning experiences with other people through this lens, that's so wonderful. That's the kind of education the world is asking to be myceliated. This, my friends, is permaculture education. So education done well is cultural repair as well as ecological repair, because it restores a way of learning that is grounded in this responsibility, not consumption. It restores humility and kindness. It restores reciprocity. It restores the idea that knowledge is not something that you collect. It's something you practice in relationship with life. And then there's the next step. Once you've learned something through lived practice, it naturally wants to travel, not as preaching it out or not as being an expert, but more as hosting conversations and creating conditions where change and good thinking is possible. A host creates a space where learning can happen. A host invites noticing. A host asks good questions. A host helps people to take one step and then reflect on what happens. And this is how permaculture has spread and has always spread, not through big declarations, but through practical learning that fits real life in the context of place. When someone visits me here, we end up doing the simplest things. We walk in the garden, we look, we pause, we notice what the garden is doing, we nibble and have a look for what's coming on next. Might smell the flowers and crush a few leaves and walk barefoot to get to know the soil by the softness and the moistness. You might find a sit spot in the garden and catch up while also have a bit of a chat with the birds and note where they're nesting and eating. And then we might track where the bees are being drawn. or where the kangaroos are lounging. And in this moment is the learning, not a clever technique. The unseen patterns and relationships become visible, and you see why something could either be struggling or why it's thriving, and you actually start to feel that you become the garden gardening, not the gardener. Now, learning in this way, it takes time, and it's seasonal and it's iterative, and it's wonderful if you have others to do it with too, perhaps family or friends, neighbours, a community group, design clients, a workshop, a class that you're part of. And observing together helps you to see what you can't see, because you just simply don't have that lens, that set of experiences, that body of knowledge, things that you've not noticed through your own lens. By being exposed through some kind of learning community to different ideas, different perspectives, it expands your imagination. And imagination is one of the most powerful tools that you have in your toolbox for design. And as a human, in fact, seeing others' experiments opens up the possibilities. And when you hear other people's questions, it helps you to sharpen your own. This is a quiet power of a learning community. It widens your field of vision and keeps the practice alive. I'm sure many of you already know that I host an international permaculture educators learning community, and the doors are now open if you'd like to join me. I brought together all the core Permaculture Education Institute programs in this once-only bundle called the Permaculture Educators Complete Collection, and it's only available to the end of this month, so just 1 week more if you're listening as this podcast is being released. So I'm offering lifetime access to the Permaculture Educators program, which includes the full Permaculture Design Certificate course and my Permaculture Teacher Certificate course. Also, you'll find lifetime access to Share Permaculture, my 12-part program to help you communicate and work clearly and widely across video, writing, events, podcasting, and developing your own communication strategy. You'll also find lifetime access to the incredible Edible Garden. This is our introductory permaculture gardening course. With all these things bundled together, you save over 50% of the price and access courses that are not available by themselves. So this is my lifetime of permaculture learning shaped into the best learning community that I can create. I wish there was something like this when I was getting started or trying to shape my permaculture career. So with all these dimensions together, the design, the teaching, the livelihoods, the communications, the gardening, and also a group to belong and learn with. So everyone who joins is also invited to Hive. This is our global learning community, a place to access live tutorials with me, to jump into peer-to-peer learning, to join project sharing sessions and member-only seminars. And it's open 24/7, and it's truly a global place. The learning community is a place where you can find a wealth of knowledge, encouragement, hope, ideas, motivation, to access feedback, to practice and share, and to find live sessions and replays, and to reconnect if you've kind of dropped off as well. It's a place to come back into and go, yes, this is where I want to be. Ali, one of our members, said every time she listens back to one of the replays, she takes something new away, and that the mix of people and backgrounds is absolutely amazing. And Michelle, who needed to step away from doing the course for a while, found it really helpful to have this community to find a footing to get back into her learning journey. If you'd like to explore the details, they're all at permacultureeducationinstitute.org. The link is in the show notes. I also welcome you to email me if you want to ask anything about the course. My email is morag@permacultureeducationinstitute.org, and there's also a link in the show notes where you can book a time to chat with me if you want to ask specific questions about whether these programs are what you're looking for. So to close today's session, here's something real for you to practice this week. And well, why not do it every week, actually? Choose one place you move through most days. Could be your yard, your balcony, your street, workplace, school, a clinic, your local park. Do 3 minutes of observation, just quietly. Don't try to design it or fix it. Just notice what's there, what's flowing, what's changing, what's thriving, what's perhaps stuck or under strain. Then ask one relationship question. What's connected to what's here? And what's missing that would make this easier for life in this space? Then choose one tiny experiment, one small action that can be done this week, and plan to notice the feedback. What shifts, what improves, what new questions might appear. And that's learning in service of life. Do it with others too and watch how capability grows. Thank you for listening. It's lovely to have your company here this week. Next week is the final episode of my solo January podcast series. We'll talk about livelihoods and how permaculture can be woven into the fabric of our work and service without losing the ethics. Remember, living is learning, keep practicing hope and myceliating the possibilities. Until next time, take care. See you soon.